We find the things that AI cannot do. Find the things that the ways in which you can use AI to make those things better. Experiment, try, play with things. And that like you got to learn these new skills. I even joked there are things I'm good at. I'm okay at being on webinars, right? But I'm not very good at prompting. I am actively practicing prompting, even though I said it's probably going away in the future. Actively thinking about these things. And I just, keep adapting, keep being curious, keep trying new things. The ability to discern whether they're good or not, that part is still sort of like you got to have some experience to know that. But the ability to do it quickly, and then if you can prompt back and forth, it can accelerate your sort of learning process if you're early in your career. And it just makes me wonder whether we'll just do more of all of these things. Like, are we really not understanding enough about people now? Like, do we not know the answers to all of our questions? No, we just don't have enough time to do all of it. So you prioritize. And then you're sitting on this like mountain of information that you don't quite know what to do with. And then now you can do more with it and you can run more. It's fascinating to think about whether we're not going to do less of this. We're going to do more. We're going to make more software, more research.
Right. More research, more design. And I love the idea of kind of, designers and researchers as almost kind of tastemakers. Like we know what's, good when you see it. And, you can just see a lot of it and then say, oh, this one is good.
What's tricky there is that we're skipping over the part where other people need to think that you're a tastemaker. Other people need to trust your judgment. And I don't want to like skip over how hard that is to build the influence within an organization. So the thing that, this, if the skill of generating and, or if the task of generating an image can be done really quickly, many people will generate all kinds of images. They'll generate pictures of interfaces. They'll generate mood boards. And then the ability to like explain why that is the right thing to do, the ability to understand the motivations of people and the ability to understand what their concerns are, and then sort of explain why this thing is the right approach. And that's just internally, right? That's not even talking about the external users and understanding those things. Designers and researchers are often really skilled at understanding those things. And if many of these tasks are changing, then the ability to convince becomes more integral. The ability to tell a story, the ability to sometimes act as a little bit of like a Twitch streamer, right? Many of us are living in this sort of information environment that inside organizations that is actually very similar to the one that's external, right? There's stuff everywhere. There's Slack channels. There's this, there's that, and you have to find like, which are the Slack channels, which are the conversations, what are the convincing points? And I think that's often sort of like dismissed as like politics, when instead it is a little bit more of, we are performing. You don't just do the research. You talk about it. You explain it. You storytell. You get other people to storytell. And all of those things become even more important if you're doing more of this. And then how do you help people to actually take action? So it's a very weird sort of perspective. But I see no reason why, either partnering with someone who is really good at those things or learning how to be really good at those things yourselves. Like becoming good at Loom is maybe a critical job skill at this point. If you're in a distributed organization, being good on Zoom, it's a fascinating sort of shift. We just ran a study, results coming out next week. Prayag plugged his product, so I'll plug our webinar next week. And I hope you'll all join us as we talk about the results from that. But one of the core findings is the degree to which products have not changed as much as they could, and the degree to which they will change. There is a coming wave of new AI products and features, and the impact of designers and researchers is very necessary, because you cannot just put a chatbot on top of stuff. Like it just can't just do that, because you quickly realize like, oh, some of these responses need to be delivered in this form, or we need to suggest this particular action, or we should probably encourage people to ask these kinds of questions. And all of a sudden, you're designing this multimodal experience that is just a
Right.
different incarnation of like a web app or a
Right.
site. And that is a very interesting shift for design and research's effect on AI.
Mhm.
That is sort of like it loops back to how we all work and what we
Mhm.
all do. And the sort of like the degree to which individual sorts of processes have changed is substantial. But you can tell right now the way that we're working together, Prag and I are having this conversation in front of all of you. AI has no real role in this sort of like collaborative process.
Mhm.
And so that is another change that has not fully happened yet. So fascinating. We're excited to reveal the results next week. And you know, I just like it made me really interested in the direction of things all over again. And there might be some parallels to the way that we all had apps and then we
Mhm.
all had really good apps
Right.
and the apps got better.
Right.
And we may be in sort of the early stages of just having the apps. So it's fascinating
Right.
to think about. I just go back to, is the hardest part of your job writing a survey question, or is it writing a survey question that people can answer, that gets you the results that you want, that, gets through, whatever internal reviews that you have? Um, and I just think you'll find that the hardest part isn't generating the text.
Right.
The hardest part is thinking about the best question and the right way to do it and the right way to talk about it after it's been presented. And when you think about it that way, I think it shapes like what to work on, what to develop. Um, become a streamer, figure out if you can answer questions in chat,
Yeah.
moderate
Why did
an
you?
internal
Yeah.
conversation, use, Fig Jam to draw, put your research findings out there, make it a game. I think it opens up a lot of other things um, as you're trying to do this goal of like, how do you help people make better decisions?